when I got on set, I just had this feeling of like I've been on so many film sets that I understand what this is, and it's so much work and it's exhausting, but it was so energizing because it was people looking to me to explain what the story is. You know, I love acting so much, but it's one piece of the puzzle, and I don't know, I liked being in the driver's seat.
We do actually have 4 actors, but it's Julia. You're in a different position. You're behind the camera for the first time for a feature film. You tell us about this, how this journey began, because I know that you were very moved by the book, but I'm sure you've been moved by lots of books. This one, something was different this time that made you really go for it and embark.
Yeah, I have been looking for a movie to direct for a really long time. I was actively looking for the right story to tell, and it took me years to find it. I had other projects that I tried to get into production, but didn't really work. Screenplay ideas, whatever. And then 5 years ago, Gabby Kono, at 25 years old,
Gabby,
the intrepid visionary that she was, slid into my DMs on Instagram and said, I read somewhere that you were interested in directing. What about this book? And then she contacted my agents, and it was like a serious, real thing. And I picked up the book and couldn't put it down, and I had a really visceral reaction to it where I was laughing, and then I was crying, and then I was laughing through my tears. And I could so see it as a movie. So that was the thing that, finally gave me the confidence to say, okay, it's time. This is the one.
Gabby, I have to include you now to ask about that moment when you DM'd Julia. What was going on?
A lot of chutzpah. I looked up to Julia my whole life as an actor. In fact, I ended up going to the same high school as Julia, and my mom sold me on it by saying, Julia Stiles went there. I was like, sign me up, please. So yeah, when I had pursued the book for many years, and finally Renee Carlino was like, oh my God, who is this crazy girl constantly DMing me on Instagram? She agreed to meet with me, and then I started to daydream about who would be the perfect filmmaker for this film, and Julia immediately came to my mind. And so, yeah, I mean, it was the most beautiful, magnetic fit for this film, I think.
And it was exactly what I was looking for. I mean, in the 5 years since, there was the thing that I fell in love with about the book in the first place, I think I'm a romantic at heart, and I was really drawn to a love story, but I loved that it's very, very young main characters, but there's a maturity to the love story that stuck with me. And then in the 5 years since we set out to make the movie, it's only gotten deeper and more meaningful, and things that I didn't realize. I think there's things that have bubbled to themes that have bubbled to the surface that kind of surprised me, and yeah, I love this book so much.
You mentioned that you saw the potential while reading it for it to be a film. Did you see sort of visual strategy? I mean, the movie opens with a sailboat. It's the first image we see, which is very evocative for a film like this. It was unexpected. I just knew the sort of log line for it. Were you seeing images pretty early, in terms of your directorial mind?
So, actually, there were things from the book that I pulled, dialogue and set pieces, and obviously the characters. The mural as a representation of their love together and their time together and communication between the two of them, that I pulled and I highlighted. But then there were things that I really had to distill for the sake of a film rather than a novel. And one of the pivotal scenes is when Adam is in the hospital in the wheelchair, and he says, I have to get out of here, I have to go on a trip, I can't die in this, I can't spend my last days here, you have to take me on a trip. And in the book, they go like all over the world, and that's really fun to read, but it's too much for a movie. I wanted to pick one location that was really special where we could just land with these characters and have them be together. and it was the sailboat. And for 4 years, everybody tried to talk me out of filming on a sailboat because it's really hard and really expensive. But I kept insisting. And actually, that opening image of the sailboat was not supposed to be that way. In the script, the opening image was going to be just the two of them at the bar, like close-ups on their faces. But I was drawn to the sailboat, and I wanted. We were able to film on it, so I wanted to show it as much as I could.
Right. I think that all the way back to Spielberg making Jaws, there's been a huge prohibition, a warning against filmmakers going onto the sea.
Yes. No, and
what
it is challenging. But you know, it was something. There was something so like poetic and symbolic to me about them being out on the water by themselves, and the idea of travel and freedom and all that. It was beautiful. And that he says he in their fantasy world that he wants to teach her how to sail. I also feel like one of the things that really drew me in the book was this like fantasy life that they have together. I think it's two versions of a love story. There's the love story that they have in real life, and then the love story that they dream about. And that's so tragic because it's like they're looking back on this as though they're an older couple. With a lifetime of memories together, which is like, we should be so lucky to do that. So that was something that I pulled from the book and I emphasized in the film. I'm rambling on. You can ask me a question.
Well, I want to get into your stars here, because you know how important casting is and how important chemistry is between not just characters, but between actors. I guess that's not always the case. This crowd knows that two people might not like each other personally and still deliver great performances. However, I know that was not the case here. I know that that there was an enormous affection between all three, actually, which is important. What was that journey for you like, casting your first feature film?
I mean, first I wanted to cast all of my friends. There just weren't enough parts. No, I had worked with Isabelle on a movie called Orphan First Kill, where I played her mother. Whatever.
I was 10, or pretending to be 10.
She was pretending to be 11. She was actually 23, but in the movie she was supposed to be convincingly an 11-year-old girl. So I guess that makes sense. But she was remarkable, and at night on my downtime, I was adapting Wish You Were Here, and I'd go to set every day and watch Isabelle work, and I was like, wow, she's so talented, and she also has the stamina to be in every single scene, every single day. And I knew that I needed that for Wish You Were Here. And then I didn't know Mena personally, but I had seen him in Aladdin, and I had seen his TV show, which is not scripted, but I just had a sense like, oh my God, this guy has an old soul, he's a good soul, and that's what I needed for Adam. And I also thought, I think I could guess that the two of them would get along, but you never know. And I've seen it all different versions of this as an actress. Sometimes people hate each other. So I was really lucky, and I do believe that it came down to the fact that they're both very professional, they were both very kind to each other, and therefore the other person could trust the situation, and I was really grateful for that. And then I would say the chemistry too. When I first met my editor, she said to me, you know, there's also what stuck out to me about the script is the female friendship. You know, the female friendship is a huge part of the story. Yeah. Gabby's character is the one that pulls Charlotte out of her grief. And I couldn't have asked for better chemistry with you two. I was like having serious FOMO with the fun that you guys were having together.
We actually fell in love.
We really did. We actually met, though, at a pool party in Los Angeles, and Gabby... This was probably in 2018 or 19.
Years before.
Yeah, and Gabby was talking about this book that she optioned, and I was telling her about the script that I was writing, and we swapped numbers, and then we kind of ghosted each other. And then I get this phone call after I said yes to do the film from Gabby Kono-Abdy, and I'm like, who is this? Why do I have this number in my phone? She's like, I'm playing Helen. We met at a pool party, and it was like from there, we just fell in love.
So yes, it's Adam and Charlotte's love story, but really it's Gabby and Isabelle's.
Do you guys have FOMO?
Yes. Mena, it's great to see your hair.
Thank you.
And great to see you here. What was your reaction upon first meeting Julia and talking about the part? This is a big. It requires a lot, and I wish I'd mentioned too. You know, you mentioned your editor also in terms of your visual style. their faces, because there are close-ups frequently through the movie, even like under the sheet that's like almost like a tent. You have to trust these two actors' faces to do a lot of the storytelling, and you knew you could.
Yes, absolutely. It was a delight to watch all three of them in the editing room for months after we made this movie.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I met Julia. I read the book, and I knew I wanted to do it because I've done romance films before, but they're comedy. I hadn't done like a real romantic drama film. And I knew this journey was going to be tough, playing this character, because he lives in the state of grief for so much of the film, and he's trying to pull himself out of it. He's trying to see the positives in his life, which I feel like a lot of us have, lived with people who have gone through cancer. It's such a prevalent disease in our society. And so for me, it was also important to have this be a sort of cathartic experience for people when they watch the film. But honestly, I'm just sitting beside amazing women. They all made it so easy. Isabelle is one of the best actors I've worked with. She made it so easy. We went out for lunch once in LA, and then we met on set the second time, and we got to know each other on set, kind of like how Adam and Charlotte get to know each other. But I think like Adam and Charlotte, we just fell into it very quickly and easily. And it was a joy getting to act with her because she's so present and she listens intensely, and that really pulls you in, So I think we pulled each other into each other's orbits, and, that made it worthwhile.
We were kind of like in a wish you were here cocoon, it felt like. I don't know. I felt like we were all so emotionally raw. We were all crying all the time. We were all laughing all the time.
Except me. I was like, there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. I am the director. I am not going to cry.
But even as, a producer of the film, it was just so incredible to watch your commitment to Adam. It added such an integrity to the film, the weight loss, the shaving of the head, all of it. Of course, all the emotional and the work you do as an actor, but your physical commitment to the role, I think, just reads so beautifully in this film.
Oh my God, 100%. And I will say that it was all driven by you. Like my experience as an actress made me like really shy as a director to push too hard and be like, do you want to shave? What are we going to do about your hair? And how are we going to look emaciated? Because I don't want to give you an eating disorder. And you were like, I'm shaving my head, and you're going to show it. And I was like, okay, awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, I guess once you turn 30 as a man, you really get nervous about your hair. You do. And I know I have a good head of hair, but for a while there, I thought it wasn't going to grow back. I was talking to our hair makeup department after I shaved my head, and I was like, can you look back here? I think it's a little lighter than everywhere else. Do you think it's going to grow back? Because I'm worried right now. So I'm glad it grew back.
And was it important to you to lose some weight?
Yeah, it was. You don't have a lot of time on a film like this, an indie film. But I did what I could. I've gone through subtle weight fluctuations for roles before, nothing major. But I knew I had about 2 weeks. We filmed the film, for the most part, my parts anyway, in sequence. So we filmed the first meeting of theirs first, because I have a full head of hair. And then I knew I had to lose weight after that. And so usually when I have to do that, I'm already on a plant-based diet, so that makes it a little bit easier, but I just turn everything into liquid. So I have smoothies and oatmeal, and then if I want solid food, I'll eat vegetables. So it was, I think I did enough that it translates on screen with the help of makeup. He does look like he's lost weight.
We got to film, like he said, mostly kind of in order because of that. And it was so helpful because, as Mena mentioned, we met once in LA. And we definitely had this sort of connection, but we really did build upon it day by day because we would be so dropped into these scenes, so present with each other. And then, they're setting up the camera and changing things around. And we got to really talk and get to know each other on a deeper level. And I felt like the chemistry built in the same way that you kind of see on screen.
it hadn't occurred to me until you guys just talked about it now that it does mirror. I mean, the relationship in the film is like essentially you two meeting, having lunch, and then meeting for the first time on set, basically. And in a way, Julia, you had to. That's part of the magic of casting, right? Because you had to know that it was going to work, that the two of them were going to click.
Yeah. You, like I said, you cast two people that you think are very talented and capable, and think they might get along if you could guess, and then hope for the best. But it was beyond what I could have hoped for. It was electric. Honestly, there was the scene where they go back to Adam's loft after the first date. Is like an 8-page scene with beautiful poetic dialogue that they start telling this. She starts telling the story of how they first met, and I knew that I needed to show their growing intimacy with that dance and with the story, and that was more important to me than showing like a sex scene. And we had all those plans to do different angles, but we had a Steadicam follow them, and I didn't have to yell cut, and I just let it keep going, and they were so magnetic and on point with their lines and the timing and just the connection between the two of them that finally, when the scene was done and I yelled cut, my cinematographer and I were like jaws on the floor going, "Oh my God," and didn't need to cover it more. But that was because they were so on point together, and also just even with the lines and timing, it was like a stage play.
Beauty of independent film, right on the other side of the wall, there was a couple getting married at that location we were filming. And so there was a full-on wedding ceremony happening. And Mena and I were just like, the minute we were just looking at each other, and I was like, the whole entire world would disappear, and then they'd call cut. You'd be like, congratulations! It was a really, like, we just got to play that evening. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in theater. I trained in theater, so you're right, Julia. That scene was very. It took me back to my theater days, where you're not cutting at all. You do it once. So, and I think it did come out very kind of theatrical in that way. So I love that scene, and I love that rehearsal too. We did.
And the space. I mean, it was so beautiful. Yeah. I feel like something in this film that's just so stunning is the set design and all of the visuals that we have. So that was definitely part
I hope you guys agree. I feel like
location.
we're up here talking about how great our movie is, but I hope you enjoyed it. We just enjoyed making it, that's why.
I want to ask Isabelle, because so much is required of you over the course of the film, and you're in, I think, every scene. I mean, if not every scene, 99% of them. When you read the script and memorize your part, what do you do? What's a day like when you're getting ready for this? I mean, are you internalizing? Are you realizing that you're sort of figuring out what is going to be the more challenging days and what are going to be the perhaps easier ones? Like, as an actor, I just
my process. Well,
because it just it's quite an accomplished piece of work, and we all just speaking for the audience, just want to know how do you do it?
Well, thank you. I had a really great piece of advice when I did this summer course at RADA, where one of my teachers said, no one wants to eat a pre-cooked meal that's been heated up. You want to make it in front of everybody. And so that's kind of what I try and do. Like, I really try and memorize all of the lines for the whole script before we even start filming, and really understand who this character is and have a full understanding of who she is when she's with other people alone, and who she is in a crowd of people, if that makes sense. And who is she to herself? How does she talk to herself? And then I really feel most of it is that's like, preparing the ingredients. And then, you come on set, and every day, especially in independent film, everything goes wrong. You run out of time, the lights in here, everybody's in a rush, or then you have so much time and then you have no time. And it's really just knowing who these people are, being present, and honestly, being with great actors. I mean, I was so lucky that we had such a great cast thanks to Julia. I got to just look at Mena and look at Gabby and listen to them. And we had wonderful script that you wrote from Renee's book. And I just felt like I just got to be present, really, really, really present. And that's what I meant by earlier that I felt very emotionally cracked open, is I think that I was just really trying to be there for all of it. And I knew who Charlotte was. I felt like she was the most relatable character I've ever played. I mean, I've never done a movie like this where I wasn't, manipulative, murderous, that sort of thing. It was really fun to actually step into parts of myself that I've never gotten to play on screen. And with that, I learned a lot through Charlotte and through this experience.
Isabelle won't say this as well, but she has an uncanny ability to drop into things very quickly and stay there. Like, she cries a lot in this film. We
Cry
both
a lot
do.
in life.
But she, she would hear action and she would be in it, and she would stay in it for hours. You would stay in it for almost hours, and then sometimes you'd come out of it a little bit, but you'd get right back in it when we needed you to, and she would just stay there. It's incredible. I've never seen anybody do that before. It's I think that's a part you can't teach. She just knows how to turn it on like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Isabelle, before when you were mentioning the sailboat, I saw you nod a little bit about how difficult filming on the sea is. What were those? What was that day or two like out there?
It was so fun, actually, because it was so different. We'd come from filming in New Jersey, and we were filming most of our exteriors, and then we kind of had this like in the movie, this magical transformation where we were on this trip and we were literally in Florida, and we were on this boat in the sea. And I think part of it is that the filming on the sea, the waves, and Julia's on a separate boat and our camera's on a separate boat, and they're like all these boats moving at once. But it was it was very cool, and it was such an iconic part of the script and the story. And I know it was so important to Gabby when she read the book, and it was so important to Julia, and it was really important to all of us. And the sailboat kind of became the mascot of the film. We all have the little sweatshirts with a sailboat. I mean, it was. Yeah,
they hated me that day because I was on a different. Well, when I was on the boat, I could explain what was going on, but when I was on the camera boat, it was all through walkie-talkies, and I made them do literally the same. It was like the same beginning and opening of one scene where Isabelle crosses over to Mena, and we must have done it 1,000 times, and it was because it's like satellites. Like, you have the moving water, the wind, the moving picture boat, and then the moving camera boat, and the safety boats. It's a lot to coordinate, and we had to do it a bit like 1,000 times. And finally, over the walkie, I heard Isabelle would like to know what's going on over here. Why are we doing? They were paraphrasing. I'm sure you didn't.
No, it was.
Why are we doing the same thing?
It was because the boat is big, so the waves, it would like rock, and I'm like walking across the boat, and there every so often I'm like, oh no, I'm like, what if I?
And then
It was also incredibly choppy that day.
Choppy.
The days that we were out at sea, it was quite choppy. So I feel, that you can't plan for that.
Gabby and her husband showed up with their dog on their own little dinghy, like just because she wasn't filming that day. She's like, hi, I just want to say hi and I love you.
And then I realized how choppy it was, and I'm like, I'm going back. Bye.
So now that was in Florida.
Yeah.
But Jersey was the place where you shot the rest of it?
Yeah, the industrial city was New Jersey. I didn't want to specify exactly which city they're in. It's supposed to be sort of a northeastern industrial urban landscape. But yeah, the sunny stuff was, the boat was Florida.
So you mentioned earlier that you shot mostly in sequence, especially for Mena's preparation. But how many shooting days were there?
Oh, my producers are going to tell me not to answer that question.
It was many.
I had to, it was what? It was not many. It was,
it was so many days.
how many shooting days was it? I mean, whatever, it's 20.
Yeah.
That's like normal for an indie movie. I had to push really hard to keep those 20, but.
It was like 23.
Oh, producer here in the house. Okay.
I'm not getting involved.
Thank you for the 3 extra days.
Just saying.
Honestly.
Liar, pants on fire. I'm going to
there are a
segue
lot of,
into.
You've worked on films that shoot over 100 days.
Yeah, that's a different era of filmmaking. Yeah, you know what I want to say? I would just like to formally apologize to my actors because I know as a director, I did all the things that I swore I would never do as a director with actors. Like I had all these lofty ideas that I would come in and be like, let's talk about your inner life and I'll give you this take is yours. I'm not even going to give you notes until you get a rehearsal and a first take. Like I'm just going to sit back and let you find it. And then when push comes to shove and we're on set, I'm like, happier, no, more sad, faster, slower, go again, just do it again, do it again.
Julia, you were fantastic.
I'm kidding.
We
but,
all
you know,
three have
I
spoken
definitely
about
caught
that.
myself. I definitely caught myself being like, oh, wow, that's annoying.
I would disagree. I think
Completely.
Julia, like you said, baseball coach. Like I'm the baseball coach. You were like really in charge in such a great way. And then you would come over to us and be like, oh, I had this idea. And it was like all the excitement. We got all the like excitement. And then she was like boss lady all the time. It was really inspiring.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Lots of line readings, which nobody likes.
But
But,
for
it's like
me-
you have
of
no
course.
time. You have no time.
But I
Yeah.
get it coming from you. That was the other thing is like there were ideas Julia would have as an actress that I'm like, why didn't I think of that? It was a really good idea. And so then sometimes a line reading can be great because you're like, that is way funnier. Like the Roddy shaking the hand thing, that was you. I remember.
So good.
You were like, it's like a no, thank you. And I was like,
Also,
okay.
you just walked out of the bathroom. Like, it was just so
It was
genius.
because it was in my head for so long, and I had to be like, after 5 years of listening to the voices in my head, I had to be like, these are their voices now, which was an interesting lesson for me.
As we wrap up, Gabby, I want to ask, so to put yourself in the mindset back all those years ago of the person opening up her Instagram to DM Julia, is this what you wanted? I mean, is to see the fruition, to see the ending of all this now, and the film's going to be available this week.
Yeah, it's out in theaters
It's out
on
in-
Friday. Oh my God,
Yeah.
out in
Go see it, go see it.
theaters.
Theaters.
Please tell your
Theaters.
friends because
Tomorrow.
you know what's funny is that like it's unfortunately a dying thing, but it's so special to have a movie in theaters, and it's
Yeah.
so important that people go to the theaters to keep them open and keep them going because it's the only campfire we have left other than theater, like live theater. And if you guys tell your friends to go see it, then it'll stay in the theater until it's on digital, on demand. But yeah,
Yeah.
this weekend.
It comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny because this is so much more than what I would have ever dreamt of. But I kept dreaming. You know, I was 22 when I first messaged Renee. And I was so determined to bring this story to the big screen. And the fact that we're here now and it's going to be in theaters tomorrow, oh, I'm going to cry. It's just, I'm really emotional.
Congratulations. by the way.
Two babies in 1 year.
2 babies in 1 year. It feels that way. And it's so much more than I could have dreamt of. It's so much bigger and it was so much more impactful. Every lesson, every experience, every new friendship and relationship, I couldn't have thought of this into existence. So the fact that this is my reality, I'm constantly pinching myself.
And Gabby kept us really positive on set too, because she was just so happy to be there and be doing it, and on a film where you can get very sad because of the material. Seeing Gabby always made us happy because we were like, this is her dream, this is her baby, and she kept us all excited about it, which I really appreciated.
She's gonna. Mena, before we finish, I just want to ask you two. You know, you've had both experiences. You were Aladdin. I mean, you've had the big world tour type of movie, but you do have a passion for this type of these indie films. It's so good to see you in a film like this.
Oh, thank you. Oh God, if I could do these all the time, that's what I would do. The blockbusters are nice, but the acting becomes a last thing that it's about. You know, for Aladdin, it was the singing and the dancing and the stunt work and the cameras and I've had to learn how to ride a camel and dive. I learned how to scuba dive so we could do the underwater. It becomes about everything except the acting. And in a movie like this, for me, it's all about the acting. There's nothing else that matters to me. and I love that. I love that because that's what I love. So it's such a great experience to be doing a film like this and getting to promote it. You know, we couldn't promote for COVID. We couldn't promote for the strikes. We went so long without being able to promote our films. So to get to do a film like this and be able to talk about it, it's such a gift. It's so special. So we're all so lucky to be here.
Thank you, Julia. Lastly, we're going to look for you, on the big screen and on TV. But is this a passion that you're going to continue to follow this new directing career?
If they'll let me.
Yeah.
If somebody will give me the money. No, I'm totally, I mean, you need money to make a movie, let's be honest. And you need people and support. I am totally hooked. I absolutely, absolutely loved it. And I felt like when I got on set, I just had this feeling of like, I've been on so many film sets that I understand what this is, and it's so much work and it's exhausting, but it was so energizing because it was people looking to me to explain what the story is. I love acting so much, but it's one piece of the puzzle, and I don't know. I liked being in the driver's seat.
Stay in it. We really hope to see.
Amen.
Yeah. Congratulations, Julia, and the cast.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for
you all
coming,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you for coming.